Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make breakbeat techno like Mall Grab, particularly on his recent EP, Growing Pains, and the stuff he's done in that style. As usual, you can get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets, all of that stuff in this video in the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there, because it's already available. And yeah, let's dive in. So, we're at 134 BPM. The first sound that we have here is this lead, which sounds like this. So the way that I made this lead, I'll show you the notes first. You can see it's really simple. We're in the key of E, and what's happening is it's just bouncing up from E to E an octave up, and then E an octave up again, and then you can see we have these other two notes here. So there's one G, and then an F, and then it goes back to E. So it's like that. That kind of like... that kind of thing musically, and then you can see I'm just playing around with that. So yeah, with this lead, it's really simple. You don't want to go too crazy with the notes, just keeping it really clean and easy to understand, because with the synth sound on this one, it's gonna kind of like blur it together, and you'll see what I'm talking about more when I actually talk about that. But yeah, like if your notes are too complicated, I think it's not really gonna sound that good with this style of lead. But if you just use something simple that's like 2 or 3 notes like this, you can really keep it like straightforward, and then the sound can shine. So for the sound on this one, it's made using operator. You can see what we've got here is a sine wave, and then that's just actually going into a low pass filter with a little bit of an envelope on it. And then you can see I also have the shaper on a little, so here's the filter. And then with it, you can see it's like really subtle. Like I don't even have the drive up, but it just gives you that extra little push to the sound that you can't really get any other way, and I think that's mostly because of the resonance. But yeah, that is it for Inside the Synth. Like I said, it's a really simple sound. There's really not a whole lot going on. It's just a sine wave. Then I have that going into a bit of echo as well as a bit of reverb. So these are just giving the sound a bit of space. Here's without these. And then with them. So you can hear, yeah, it gives the sound a bit of space, and then also it kind of helps with getting that like cloudy sort of texture I was talking about, which really goes into the next thing, which is the saturator. So the saturator here, you can see, is set pretty heavy. Here's without it. And then with it, so you can hear we just have this on here, blowing the sound out. It's really just taking everything, giving it a ton of crunch, and then it's also crunching that echo and the reverb. So this is a really good technique with these style of sounds. If you take a saturator and turn the drive up, and then also turn this bass frequency up down here, and then put that after some reverb and some echo, you can get this really cool kind of crunchy texture with the echo and reverb, where you hear like the two things kind of like the saturation and the reverb coming together to create this really crunchy, nice kind of texture. And you can hear if I turn the bass frequency down, we don't get it as much. So that's how you really get that like kind of blown out sound like that. And yeah, and then the last thing that we have on there is just a bit of a high pass filter to cut out some low end. You can hear pretty essential with this sound. And yeah, that is it for the lead. After that, we have this 808, which sounds like this. So here are the notes for the 808. It's really simple. It's just playing E and F, just like I was saying with the lead, Really simple music with this style of stuff, and then it's just like cool sound design. But yeah, and also the thing with this one, as you can see, it's kind of like holding out and playing these longer notes. It's like... like that, just kind of like boom. Kind of a cool technique, In Growing Pains, Mall Grab actually had like a more like dum type of bass, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. This works really well with the style as well because we have the kick underneath it. So the kick's giving us that movement, and then the 808 is just like a long, held-out bass note. One thing I've noticed is if you use super fast basses, like say we just make one kind of like you hear in Growing Pains, like that, it can get kind of muddy and a little bit messy in the mix. But if you just do like boom, with all this other distorted stuff going around it, it can stay really simple and clean this way. So for the sound on this one, it's made using operator. What we've got is just a saw wave going into a low pass filter. That's it. The low pass has a little bit of an envelope, which you can see. It's kind of like boom, like closing it a little. And then I also have the shaper on here, so I'll turn this off. And then on, so you can hear, it's just like with the lead, it's like not doing a whole lot, but if you turn it off, you really can tell the difference, and you can tell that like this is adding a lot to the sound, even if it's just adding something subtle. You know, the little subtle things like this add up to make the big picture, as I always say. Then after that, we have a bit of drum bus just to fatten the sound up. Here's without it. And with it, you can hear this also really helps to kind of take this away from just sounding like a synth and make it sound more like an 808. And yeah, then after that, we have an EQ8, which is cutting at 100 hertz and then boosting the low end to clean out some room for the kick, and then also just kind of bring out the low end in the sound. And then the last thing we have on here is a compressor, side chaining it to the kick to kind of clean it up a little bit. And yeah, that is it for the 808. After that, we have this 808 kick, which sounds like this. So this is an actual 808 kick. We have this one, which is the bass, but this is an actual kick from an 808. So that's kind of what you want to use with the style, you know, more like drum machine type of sounds, like 808, 606, 909 sounds, all that kind of stuff. If you stick to those drum machines, you shouldn't really have too much of a hard time getting good sounds. Like this kick is just like a very fat and punchy, quick 808 kick. Yeah, so with this one, you can see we've just got it in here, and then I've got the detune down a little, because if you notice, you can see it's hitting right on E. It bounces around, but it's hitting right in the middle there for E, and this is how we get that, is using the detune. A lot of times with these 808 kicks, and kicks in general, really, it can be like on the right note. Like, we turn this off, you can see it is the right note, it's E, but it's a little out of tune, and if we play that with the other 808, you can hear the bass isn't as powerful because they're kind of phasing. But if you turn down the detune there, everything locks into place. So yeah, it's important to make sure it's tuned. And then you can see I also shortened it a bit with the amplitude envelope. Then after that, we have this saturator as well as this drum bus. So the saturator here is just fattening the sound up. Here's without it. You can hear it really takes it from like that kind of like little 808 kick sound to just like a, you know, really hard-hitting, powerful one that's going to really cut through the mix and sit in the right place. And yeah, that's what the saturator is doing. You can see I've get that up quite a bit. Then we have the drum bus, which you can see. I actually don't have the driver crunch up on this. I just have the transients up. So here's without this. And then with it. So you can hear it just makes that transient hit a little bit harder. Just really gives it the like at the start of the sound like we want. And yeah, that is it for the kick. And then I have the 808 and the kick in a group together. This is just to process them together and kind of glue them together, you know. With this style, and you'll see this with the percussion too, you really want to make things sound like they're kind of going through the same effects. Like with the percussion, for example, you know, making it all sound like it's going through that same kind of crunchy distortion. In this case, with the low end, making it just sound really cohesive. And like it's being saturated together, so you really get that power. And yeah, so that's what we did. You can see I've got this drum bus here. We got it on the hard setting. So this is a distortion as well as a little bit of limiting. That's what the hard setting does. And that just really helps to glue the 808 and the kick together. You can hear, if I turn it to medium, and then to hard, it sounds a lot more, like I said, like glued together like that. Then I've also got the transients up a bit on that one. And yeah, that is it for the drum bus. And then the only other thing here is just the two EQs just boosting the low end. One going into the drum bus to kind of bring it, you know, more together in the drum bus when it's getting saturated. And then one afterwards just to kind of make it a bit more powerful and a bit more full in the mix. And yeah, that is it for the low end. After that, we have the percussion, which sounds like this. So I'll just show you the individual sounds and then I'll talk about the group. First thing here is the snare, which sounds like this. So it's just like a standard punchy 808 snare, or maybe like a 606 or something like that. You can use like a lot of different types of drum machine sounds. But yeah, just like a really punchy, hard-hitting snare that's gonna sit well with the kick. you know, these have like an even level of punch. And yeah, with this one, we just got a bit of drum bus and then a bit of EQ to boost the high end. That is it for the snare. Then we have the rim shot, which sounds like this. And yeah, that's just like a little rim shot sample, just kind of playing in the background. Like that, you can see we've just got this going through a bit of echo. Kind of giving some space. And yeah, then we have this 808 hi-hat. Just going straight. Yeah, just like hitting super hard. And yeah, then the last percussion layer is this 909 hi-hat, which sounds like this. You can hear that's just kind of in there playing like that little pattern. And this adds a lot of intensity to the groove. If I turn it off, it feels a little bit more like low key. And then we turn it on. And then it really picks up the energy. And yeah, you can see we just got this one in here. I've shortened it a little bit with the amplitude envelope. And then I've got a bit of drum bus on it as well to really give it that fullness that you want. And then on the group of percussion, it's actually simpler than you would think. It's really just a bit of drum bus and then a low cut with this auto filter. With this one, it's more about the idea. So you want your percussion to really sound grouped together. Like you need it to sound like it's all going through the same saturation, because if you listen, here how things are kind of like ducking out of the way, and like you can hear that 808 hi-hat really trying to stand out on the mix. That's what you need. You need everything to sound like it's kind of playing off of each other. And the only way you're going to get that is using some saturation on everything at once, because it's just like crunching everything together and kind of pushing it together and gluing it together more. So yeah, with this one, like I said, just a bit of drum bus, got the transients up. That really helps. The other thing with this is turning the damp down on the drum bus, because if I turn it up, you can see. Here there's like a lot of really, really bright high end there. Whereas when we turn it down, it's a little bit more like lo-fi sounding. So that's what you want. You want it to sound a little bit more lo-fi and dark like this. You don't want it to just be like super pristine and clean sounding, because this style needs to sound a little bit kind of like, you know, rough around the edges like that. And yeah, and then the high-pass filter is just to cut out some low end and clean the percussion up. You have to make some room in the mix. And yeah, that is it for the percussion, and that is also going to be it for this video, guys. So, I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video, as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI and presets, all of that stuff in this video in the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. This is a great way to support me. If you guys want to help me out for making all these videos for you guys, yeah, literally just, you can check in the description. It's $5 to get this project file and samples and MIDI and presets, all of that. So definitely go check that out. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.